Underground markets that sell illegal commodities like drugs, counterfeit currency and fake documentation tend to flourish in times of crisis, and the COVID-19 pandemic is obviously no exception. The online underground economy has responded to the current crisis by exploiting demand for COVID-19 related commodities. That is the blunt conclusion from a study by Georgia State University in the United States. So how big a problem is this globally and I guess in South Africa? Arthur Goldstuck is with us. He's a tech expert who also runs the research company Worldwide Works. Arthur, good afternoon to you. How prevalent a problem is this worldwide, and to what extent then are we impacted in this country?
Good afternoon, Jeremy. It's pervasive across every country in the world, but it's also been around for a long time. COVID-19 has simply changed the focus of what the scammers and the criminals are trying to palm off on the public and on organizations. But if you look at the history of what they call the dark web, you find that anything from running guns to pornography to fake credit cards have been sold in that environment. And whatever is the big interest of the moment or the big concern or crisis will then inspire whatever is the big new area of scam selling going on. And most of these sites are pretending to be selling products. There's a lot of talk about it being counterfeit product, but in fact, in most cases, once you've paid, you never hear back from these operators.
How difficult is it to access these websites then, Arthur, and who would be running them?
There's three kinds of websites very broadly that will be pulling these scams. The first are those that are set up on the regular internet, on the World Wide Web, and they're temporary sites that are registered specifically to pull in people. And these are typically run from anywhere in the world, but mostly you find them coming from Eastern Europe. Russia in particular is a major source of these kind of scam sites. Then the second category is hidden sites that you have to know about, or you have to be connected to know about them. And these are typically not the sites that are aiming at the broad public or the broad commercial world. This is where the scammers trade among themselves. And then the third category that extends on that idea is in what they call the dark web. The dark web versus the deep web is that web that you can only access with a particular kind of browser. These are sites where, as opposed to commercial sites that end typically with .com or similar, these end with something called .onion. And you can only access it with a browser called Tor, T-O-R. And once you go in there, you find anything for sale. And using almost any mechanism for those sales, the emergence of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin has really inspired massive growth in selling counterfeit product in those areas, but also completely fake sales for which people supply Bitcoins and then never hear again from the supplier.
And very quickly, the deeper you dive into the dark net, the more difficult it becomes to police, I imagine.
It's almost impossible to police, but in fact what the authorities do in quite a few countries is monitor what's happening in there to pick up when this kind of thing is happening. And very often, when people push too hard in that environment, they're really putting the hand of the police. That is when the police are really switched on. But in some countries, they really are expert at finding people because they think the dark web is safe from the authorities.
Arthur Goldstuck from Worldwide Works, thank you very much for joining us.